Good morning, guys, and welcome to another coffee chat. My name is Shakti. If it's your first time hopping on, I host coffee chats Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Pretty much every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I usually bring a message of something that I have been either talking about with clients or coaches, or something that I feel is pressing that needs to be addressed just because I'm seeing a trend in the conversations that I'm having. And this particular subject matter has been one of those. And I have the opportunity to coach one-on-one my coaches. So part of what happens when you join our team is you get to have a one-on-one with me, and as often as you need it. And it's basically just a mentorship program to help my coaches, not just professionally, but in their personal life, like whatever they might be struggling with individually. So this came up with one of my coaches, and it was really around the topic of motivation and finding the motivation to do anything, whether it's work out or run a business or just show up for herself on a daily basis. And we started going back into her life and talking about, where certain patterns emerged, because that's really kind of important, not to dwell in the past, but just to recognize the moment when your patterns emerged, right? And a lot of times we don't even realize when that started. We've just been living in a pattern and a trend for so long that we forget that there's actually a beginning to that story, and that circumstance or that situation that triggered that behavioral pattern might still be having a hold of you today, and you have no idea that that's happening. So in this particular circumstance, she happens to have been obese at some point, and then she had gastric bypass surgery, and she lost a lot of weight, and she recommitted to her health journey, and she is now in such a better place. But one of the things that we talked about with her habits, right, is that we don't just wake up in a certain place. We don't wake up one day and suddenly we're broke. We don't wake up one day and suddenly we're obese. We don't wake up one day and suddenly we're, in an awful relationship that's really abusive and really toxic. Those are things that build up over time. Over time, we gain a ton of weight. Over time, we make poor money decisions and end up super broke and very in debt. Over time, we end up in a very, very toxic relationship. And what happens is we allow these small daily choices and decisions to sort of dictate the path that we're on. So when it comes to a very toxic or abusive relationship, it typically doesn't start that way. Those relationships often start pretty normal, pretty undetected, under the radar, and just little things will start to happen, right? Little behaviors that I call red flags will start to happen, and we just excuse it and excuse it and excuse it, and then one day you wake up and you have a black eye, Or when it comes to poor money decisions, you don't wake up with $10,000 worth of credit card debt. It starts with you paying for something that you can't afford one time, and then paying for something else that you can't afford another time, and so on and so forth, until one day you wake up and you have $10,000 worth of credit card debt. So it's so important that we understand that our future is so dependent on our daily choices. And that it's not about perfection, but it's about mindfulness when it comes to your daily decisions. So if you know that 5 years from now you want to have no debt, then right now is the time to start making better money habit decisions. Maybe that means, getting Dave Ramsey's podcast and listening to episodes on how to handle debt. Maybe it means getting a book on handling debt. Maybe it means, instead of eating out 5 times a week, you're going to do it 3 times a week. It's all about making small daily decisions that help you long term. And the problem with why we struggle with this, for example, we probably know that eating 4 donuts every night for a week is a bad idea. Like, generally speaking, donuts don't have a lot of nutritional value. They taste amazing. I freaking love donuts, but they don't have nutritional value. So I know that eating 4 of them a day for a week, especially at night when you're about to go lay down and rest and not burn them off, is not a good idea. But what happens with many of our mindset is that we're caught up in the emotional gratification, the immediate emotional gratification of eating something that tastes really good. So for me in particular, sugar and difficult emotions have a very strong relationship. Hi, Mohammed. Thanks for hopping on. Sugar and emotions have a strong relationship. So when I'm having a difficult emotion, I often think of eating something sweet, right? So that correlation is extremely, extremely common, of having a difficult emotion and thinking of something sugary that you want to ingest. A lot of times, this is where emotional eating away from, but still shows up from time to time. So when that happens, it's so important for me to recognize that moment of, okay, I want to eat this thing, but I know that I'm not hungry. I know that, yeah, sorry guys, my internet connection is just not helping. Okay, so what happens when I have that moment and I'm triggered to want to eat something really sweet is I always pause and ask myself, why am I wanting to do that? So what is the thing that I want to gain out of that? And typically it's I want to eat my feelings, right? Like I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat any more food, but I want to eat my feelings. Capacity to make a different choice in that moment is really, really powerful. And I usually just pause and ask myself, like, why? Why am I doing this? You know, if I'm going to go charge something on a credit card, which I now have no credit card debt, a freaking men. But in the past, if I was going to do that, I'd ask myself, well, why am I doing this? Do I need the thing that I'm about to purchase? And can it wait until I have the money? Right? And just having the pause, the interruption in that stimulus response relationship, introducing a small pause allows you to make a different decision. But you need to introduce the pause, right? So I have a stimulus. I want to buy something, I want to eat something, whatever. Then I stop and ask myself, why do I want to do this thing? What is the reason behind that? And if it's not valid, if it's not true to my goals, if it's not something I actually want to accomplish long term, then I pause and I make a different choice. But as I was saying, we're so tied to the immediate gratification aspect that we don't think long term. And so that short term fix governs every decision we make. And I think that's where we need to really switch the way we think and start thinking long term benefit, long term goal, in order to start shifting our daily decisions to become more aligned with our long term vision. So that's something I want to introduce to you guys to start thinking about, switching your short term fixes into long-term vision and how you can go about doing that. All right. So hopping on, I know I think it is very difficult right now. Thanks so much for being patient with this video.